Support WrestleTalk!
Order the magazine using the link below.
We've seen a lot of great gimmicks over the years, from the most electrifying man in all of entertainment, to Olympic heroes, to these dancing clowns with bizarre names. But not every gimmick is successful, and some gimmicks are so bad it can ruin a career. But there are some gimmicks that are so terrible, WWE thankfully come to their senses before they debut. I am Luke Owen, and these are 5 awful gimmicks that nearly happened. Around about 2005, WWE Creative were looking for new avenues for Christian. His brother, Edge, was being groomed for a serious main event push, but Christian had fallen from his glory days as part of their tag team. Several gimmicks were suggested, but it was Vince McMahon who had the oddest idea of all. For whatever reason, Vince just wasn't a fan of the way Christian looked. Not because of his clothes or because of his hair, which are easily changed. Vince didn't like Christian's face. Vince was just like, I just don't like his face. His face really bothers me. I was like, he's ugly, Vince? No, it's not that he's ugly. It's just, I don't know, it's ratty. On a plane ride to the UK, Vince got inspiration from a trial he saw on TV, where the witness had a big blue dot over her face to hide her identity. And McMahon wanted to do this for Christian. According to Bruce Pritchard on his Something to Wrestle podcast, Vince pitched the idea on more than 7 occasions. And it was the reality of trying to logistically do it that actually put an end to the proposed gimmick. After a very controversial angle with Muhammad Hassan and Daivari in 2005, which had forced WWE to kill off the Hassan character, Daivari needed a new gimmick. The gimmick put in front of him was a very different one from his old one. He was to debut as George W. Bush. Although Bush was president of the United States at the time, Daivari wasn't going to be an avatar for the leader of the free world. Instead, he was going to be the epitome of patriotism, dressed head to toe in the Star-Spangled Banner. Think Apollo Creed in Rocky IV. The idea was presented to Daivari by Stephanie McMahon, but having had his life threatened several times during the Hassan storyline, Daivari wasn't willing to take another character of that ilk. I was supposed to come out as George W. Bush, an over-the-top red, white, and blue America thing, almost patronizing the whole thing, being like, hey, I can be patriotic too. I'm not an Arab, I'm American. I love America. My name is George Bush, and that kind of shit. And then I told her it was a bad idea. The WWE version of ECW was set to debut on the Sci-Fi Channel in 2006, but that deal came with the caveat they would have to work in science fiction-like angles. This led to the creation of the gothic lifestyle choices of Kevin Thorne and Ariel, as well as the comedy character Zombie. One of the other ideas presented by writer Court Bauer was for Hardcore Holly. The idea was to announce that WWE were working with NASA, and then for Holly to re-debut on ECW in an astronaut suit complete with a pet monkey. According to Bauer, head of creative Stephanie McMahon loved the idea, but was also a little disturbed by it. We'll call him Space Corps Holly. He was out with an injury, why not have him return saying he was lost in time, and he crashed into the arena with a space monkey, like the bird Coco Beware had. The monkey always attacks him and bites him or whatever. WWE are very quick to tell us that the Shield are one of the most dominating teams in the history of this company. The team, made up of Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins, quickly made an impact and turned all 3 into bona fide main eventers. Their debut was at Survivor Series 2012, where they put Ryback through a table dressed head to toe in black gear. At the following pay-per-view, they debuted their now iconic Riot Gear look, but it was almost very different for the group. The original plan for the Shield was to have them walk to the ring with, well, actual shields, presumably to hammer home the point of their name. It was really, for lack of a better word, it was really lame. We had like literal riot shields, fiberglass riot shields with the word shield written up it. Reigns argued that not only would it look a bit silly, it would be difficult for them to get into the ring while still holding up these big shields. Thankfully for all involved, Vince McMahon found them in the hallway before they went to the ring at Survivor Series. Vince was like, what are you guys, wussies? You need that? We're like, no. And he's like, good. should leave them. And we just ran in there and beat the dog out of Ryback and put him through the table. Maria Kanellis was a former Diva Search contestant who became the ditzy backstage interviewer for Raw for most of her WWE tenure. Maria wanted more though, and before she was released in 2010, she pitched a character that would put her into the Divas Championship picture. Her plan was to debut as a new character, a meaner heel version of Maria complete with darker hair. The gimmick was she would also still be the ditzy interviewer backstage, living a double life like Disney Channel character Hannah Montana. This dual character persona would even date the same wrestler, but he wouldn't know he was dating the same person. The culmination of this storyline would see both sides of Maria's personality come together to form a Super Maria of sorts, finally getting her shot at the Divas Championship. I just wanted that moment in the mirror of like taking off the blonde wig and throwing a hairspray bottle at the mirror and shattering all over the place. I think that would have been so cool to have that double character, but they never got it. Vince McMahon may not have liked all those ideas, but he did hire some of his biggest enemies. And what was the real reason John Cena didn't turn heel? Click the videos to the left to find out more. Press subscribe and support WrestleTalk on Patreon. I have been Luke Owen, and that was wrestling.